Well, hello, sports fans, and welcome back to Sports on the Spot. My name is Willie Charger, and today I'm going to be joined by Nick James. And later on, Ronnie and Lenny will be here with their rundown and lowdown. We're here to talk some sports, and there's been a lot of sports going on in the USA over the past week or so. NBA season now swinging into pretty good gear. Some of the teams are starting to separate themselves from others. Of course, you've got Week 9 of the NFL season. Which generated a lot of headlines over the weekend. But Nick, for you, what was the big headline?
For me, I was watching the Bills game and I just kept hearing how good Josh Allen was doing, and I didn't make sense to me at first because I was like, no, the Bills aren't doing good. Then I realized the Jaguars defensive player Josh Allen was just having the game of his life, ultimately being the better Josh Allen of the day. Pretty funny when I finally realized what was going on, but I mean that was wild. I would have never expected the Jags to beat the Bills in the first place.
So Josh Allen played great, and Josh Allen played terrible. So
Exactly.
interesting. For me, I've kind of got a negative headline that came to mind over the weekend. This involved a high school football playoff game down in LA County, Inglewood High against Morningside. Inglewood won the game 106 to nothing. That's right, 106 to nothing. And Inglewood really poured it on. What made it really bad was when it got to 104 to nothing, the Inglewood coach decided to go for a 2-point conversion to get it up to 106. And so that was pretty bad. Nick, you played high school football. Is that what sportsmanship and gamesmanship should be all about?
I feel like they should have called the game at that point just for the morale of these kids, or at least put in second string. I mean, if the team's that good, you can't have them not score. We used to play St. Bonaventure, which was the private school, and they'd beat us, but never that bad. Maybe at 50 burger.
You mentioned St. Bonaventure. The Inglewood went on and beat St. Bonaventure the next week, and they're still in the playoff hunt. Anyway, that was my weekend takeaway, negative headline as it was. Let's stop here and send it over to Lenny so he can give us his Lenny lowdown. So take it away, Lenny.
This week I'd like to talk about something a bit more serious. Yeah, sports are fun and games and all that, but there is a serious aspect, and that is how much time we spend obsessing over sports. We talk endlessly over what happened in last week's game, about what happened to our team, the players that we follow, fantasy leagues, and so on and so on and so on. And I think that says a lot about who we are as people. Let me make my point through metaphor. And a common metaphorical device is a car, because it's something we're all familiar with. Well, in my family, we got two cars. We got a really nice one, and we got an old beater. Well, I have my wife drive the old beater, because I really like driving that nice one. But you know what? I think she's okay with the beater. We can put anything in that thing, and it doesn't matter what happens to it. We shove our bikes in the back, and it can scuff the seats up. We put rocks in there. When I send my wife to the lumberyard for me, she comes back with 8-foot 2x4s in there. If it gets all scratched up inside, so what? Heck, sometimes I walk by the car and give it a good smack on the outside with a hammer just to show that it doesn't matter. So it works for us. On the other hand, getting a shiny new car, well, that has some appeal also. It's not about the prestige. Obviously, I have tons of that. And it's not about the money. Got a boatload of that too. But there are other factors to consider about being green, because a newer car could be an electric or perhaps a plug-in hybrid. It could also be about comfort. It could be about having some amenities like a radio and a heater and so forth. So it's something we got to talk about. We don't have to decide right now. You know what? In fact, I think I'm just going to go watch some football.
All right, thanks for that, Lenny. As usual, very provocative and original. Thanks for that. Hey, Nick, I wanted to talk about Week 9 of the NFL season, and yesterday there were a number of big upsets that took place. A bunch of first-place teams lost to some teams they should not have lost to. For me, watching the Cowboys thoroughly get dismantled by Denver was a real shock. I don't know what to make about that. It was 30 to nothing. before the Cowboys finally got on the board. Of course, the Bills, you mentioned Josh Allen losing to the woeful Jacksonville Jaguars. Nobody scored a touchdown in that game, and that was a shocking game. Got the Rams getting dominated by the Titans last night. And my favorite was, of course, the Giants upsetting what was then the first place Raiders. What was the big upset game for you over the weekend, Nick?
I had really high hopes for the Rams. I would have never thought that they wouldn't be able to throw all over that Titans defense. But I mean, that defense played really hard and everybody stepped up on that team. I honestly think the Rams just slept on it. I think they were just too used to beating up on these bad teams like the Jets and the Giants, and finally had to play someone tough who they have the same record right now. I think they're both 7-2. So it was a big upset. I'm not shocked that the Titans won because that's what the Titans seem to do. I was just shocked how they did it. It looked like a disaster.
Yeah, it was a pretty dominant victory by the Tennessee Titans. And even more impressive, given that the Rams have been playing pretty good football themselves. So, yeah, that was, I think, a very impressive win. What about that game yesterday between the Packers and the Chiefs? The Chiefs were able to win the game, but they didn't seem too impressive to me. What's going on in Kansas City?
Patrick Mahomes must just be doing too many State Farm commercials because he is not looking good on the field. In addition to being kind of hobbled, I think he's just not getting away with some of that shit he used to pull with no-look passes, and he's missing wide-open receivers, not even picking them up on the reads. I mean, the guy's fist pumping and celebrating like he won the Super Bowl just because they got that first down last night. It's like you guys barely beat a really helpless Packers team. If Aaron Rodgers was there, like I had predicted when I did my Knicks pick last week, they would have throttled them. There's no way they would have been able to keep up.
I was thinking the same thing. The Chiefs were lucky to win the game last night, especially even luckier that they didn't have to go up against Aaron Rodgers. It would have been, I think, a completely different outcome. But people can talk about the Chiefs, but I don't really think that any of the other AFC West teams should be too concerned about Kansas City for this season. Mahomes' play is really, really diminished. I don't know what happened, but I'm not too sad, to be honest with you. Nick, I wanted to talk about the Chargers' impressive win yesterday over the Philadelphia Eagles. I know it was only the Philadelphia Eagles, but I thought that the Chargers bounced back very well after 2 consecutive defeats. It's always been about Justin Herbert this season, and when he does great, they seem to do great. And yesterday he did great. 32 out of 38 passes, 356 yards. He had 2 touchdown passes and even ran for 1. There were no turnovers. I don't even think he got touched by the defensive line. Kudos to the Chargers offensive line. They really, really did a heck of a job. I mean, 84% pass completion, that's pretty good for one game. Of course, he wasn't facing the Patriots defense like he did last week, and he seemed much more comfortable. He threw that long bomb to Mike Williams, was really great, 49-yarder. And Keenan Allen, whoever has Keenan Allen in fantasy points, boy, they scorched them. They did really great over this past Sunday. Nick, what are your thoughts on the Chargers game?
I really liked the first 2 drives, even though the first drive didn't end in points. They took it 98 yards, and I'm glad they went for the touchdown and didn't get it, then settling for the 3. You got to be aggressive. They had a couple questionable 4th down plays, but when it really counted, they were able to get those done, which I'm glad that they didn't get scared after failing early in the game. The running game needs a little more work. I don't know what Josh Kelly's doing in there. He's hitting the line of scrimmage really soft on some of those short yardage plays. Defense still questionable at times. I think Devonta Smith really kind of had his way with them in the second half. And again, I mean, they put up another close to 200 yards on the ground, the Eagles, which is what I expected. Not as bad as I had expected it. Overall, good game.
As a Charger fan, I really liked the way the game ended. The Eagles come back. They tie the game at 24. And the Chargers get the ball with like 6 minutes to play. And I'm thinking, gosh, let's just run the clock out, go 15 plays and kick a field goal at the end and don't even get the other team a chance to get on the field. And if that is exactly what happened, they went for it on 4th down. I think a couple of times on that drive. Herbert found, I don't know, 4 or 5 different receivers on that drive, and then the gutsiest play I've seen by NFL head coach in years on that fourth and down way at the end of the game, rather than just play it safe and kick a field goal. What did he do? He moved it even closer, and even took even more time off the clock. And by the time they kicked the field goal, there was 2 seconds left. And I mean, that's a great way to win a game.
It was perfectly orchestrated. It's still stressful. The missed extra point, it's like, when are we going to get that fixed? And then luckily we can get the 2-point conversion. But I mean, like you said, it ended really well. My heart was pounding for that fourth quarter, though. I'll tell you, I couldn't take another loss. But right now we're looking really good, and we got the Vikings next week. We might be able to get away with some of that stuff, but I think they're a considerably better team than the Eagles, and probably better than the Patriots, despite their record.
The Vikings almost beat Baltimore yesterday. They led most of the game, and at the end they let it get away. But yeah, the Vikings are definitely a tough team. They don't show it on their record so much, but yeah, I'd really be prepared for that team. And of course, after that, we got Pittsburgh at home. So see what happens in the next couple of games. They're running out 5-3, 2 division wins, first place in AFC West. I'll take it.
It's a good start.
It's definitely a good start. So we'll stay tuned with the Chargers. Okay, Nick, are you ready to give us your next picks for this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, Willie, I'm a little worried, though, after last week going 0-4. Like I said, I did make the Packers pick before the Aaron Rodgers stuff happened, as far as when we recorded the picks. Can't really explain the Rams or the Cowboys losing the way they did. So we're 12-8 on the season. This week, we're going to go for underdogs. I'm picking winners, and they're all underdogs this week. Starting with the Falcons and the Cowboys. Falcons blew a 20-point lead last year. I think that they're going to be able to hang in there this year, get their revenge game against the Cowboys. They're still shell-shocked after what the Broncos did to them. Browns and New England, I'm going with the Browns here. I think they're looking back like they did at the beginning of the season with that strong run game, even with Kareem Hunt out. OBJ's out of the picture, so he's less of a distraction, and it might be harder for Bill Belichick to kind of focus in on who to attack there. Eagles, Broncos. I'm going with the Eagles here. The Cowboys really didn't run too poorly against the Broncos. They just only had 16 rushes, and they had to give up to throw the ball because they were so far behind. I think the Eagles are going to keep that rushing attack going here against the Broncos and be able to steal this one. And then finally, I hate both these teams, but Raiders and Chiefs. Somehow the Raiders are the underdog here. Like, I cannot stand the Chiefs. I think the Raiders are going to get back on track, and if they lose, it's a win-win. So, but I'm taking them to beat the Chiefs. As far as fantasy goes, I know last week we did the Eagles running back carousel, and it turns out Jordan Howard's the play there. Boston Scott did get a couple goal line opportunities vultured by Howard and Gainwell, so sucks to suck. Luckily, these running backs are just rentals anyways. This week, we're going to talk about the Titans running backs. Do we go with McNichols or Peterson or Foreman? I say McNichols is probably still the best bet here. They gave Adrian Peterson a goal line opportunity to come in and punch one in on the 1-yard line, get everyone hyped up, get morale up. I think that McNichols is going to be a better play overall. He's going to get more passing down work. If they're hanging in close games late, they're going to be checking down to him a lot. Adrian Peterson might get a couple goal line vultures, but I think he's going to be pretty boom or bust. Foreman could end up running hard enough to get some touches, but again, the big pick here is going to be McNichols.
Well, thanks for that, Nick. I know that the fans have been paying attention to your picks, and hopefully they've been successful. I wanted to give Ron a little bit of time to give us his Ronnie rundown, so take it away, Ron.
All right, another week. Here we go. We're doing it again. I don't even remember what I picked last week. I must not have turned out too well. Been a rough stretch, but we got a long season still. Can't believe it's 17 weeks. I mean, and it's week 10 already. How crazy is that? But let's jump into the week 10 picks. I'm going to go Buccaneers minus 9.5 at the football team. Tom Brady coming off the bye. That's a lot of points, especially on the road. But I think the Washington guys, they're not that good. Kind of a disappointing year for them so far. So I think the Bucks minus 9.5 is an easy one. I'm also going to go Seahawks plus 3.5 at the Packers. Russell Wilson, apparently he's coming back, and then conversely, Aaron Rodgers isn't playing still. Look, the guy said he was immunized. I don't think that was lying. No, you asked him, you say, is the sauce homemade? I said, yeah, it's homemade, but doesn't matter. It doesn't mean I made it in my home. Could be made somewhere else. I don't know. But 3.5 for the Seahawks with Russ Wilson back and Rodgers not playing, that's kind of odd. I mean, I would take it still. I don't know. Maybe Rodgers is still going to play, but if it ends up being, I'll put it this way, if it ends up being where Russ is playing and Rodgers isn't playing, the spread is not going to be 3.5 by the time I start that game. And then I'm going to go Monday Night Football, Rams -4 at the 49ers. Rams crushing loss. They've been playing well, but they definitely got beat up by the Titans. And Niners aren't that good. They're struggling. So I think coming off the loss, I would expect to see the Rams, kind of roll all over them. The 49ers secondary is all banged up. Stafford's going to be throwing the ball all over the place. So I'll take the Rams -4 on Monday night. So we got Buccaneers minus 9.5, Seahawks plus 3.5, and we got the Rams -4. So good luck.
Well, thanks, Ron. That was really good. I'm sure I'll check on that later, time allowing. Trust but verify, Well, now it's time to hear from you viewers. Your questions almost soared into the double digits this week. And as always, sometimes, we picked one from random. This one is from one of our favorite viewers, Fahrenheit 451, who asked this burning question. Are the Packers in serious trouble without Aaron Rodgers? Guys, let me tackle this one first. First of all, this Aaron Rodgers guy, he picked an absolutely crazy time to go on vacation or whatever. I'm guessing he had some unused PTO that he needed to burn, sort of a use it or lose it thing. But even then, he'd normally need to get a supervisor's approval, if it's crunch time at work. But the viewer's question is whether or not this Rodgers guy's absence puts the Packers in trouble. And I say not necessarily. Sometimes in a situation like this, it creates an opportunity for the rest of the team. So in this case, maybe some of the other players will step up to the plate and score some runs.
Well, Ernie, you know a lot, but I have to disagree with you on this one. They had an opportunity to show what they could do without Aaron Rodgers last night, and they fell flat on their face. The guys that were supposed to step up and fill the void, simply put, did not step up and fill the void. Their quarterback, Mr. Love, showed that he's really not ready for prime time. He looks scared and tentative out there. I think that the Packers aren't going to go very far unless they get Aaron Rodgers back into the starting lineup as their quarterback.
Yeah, I agree, Willie. I think that they're totally in trouble without Aaron Rodgers, and it sucks for them too because he's causing all this issues with the offseason drama, wanting to get traded, then lying about misleading about his vaccination status, and
he lied. He didn't mislead. He lied.
Yeah. Well, regardless.
Come on, Nick. Don't cover up for the guy. I like the dude, but I don't like him anymore.
Either way, with all of that being said, everyone's just going to be taking him back with open arms, whether it's a one more game suspension or if he's suspended for a few games. Once the league looks into everything he's been up to, he might not be back for a bit. And drafting Jordan Love in the first round, already upset Aaron Rodgers, and now he can do a big "I told you so" because the guy is not ready to play. You've seen a lot of other people way less time in the league that have already shown that they can at least show up to beat the Chiefs. Like in a game with a good defense, they had a better offense besides the quarterback play. Like they totally could have won. So I'm really worried about them.
Things don't look too good up in Green Bay unless they get Mr. Rodgers back in the lineup. Well, we could talk more and more about Mr. Rodgers, but we got to move on. That's going to be it for this week's show. I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in and reminding you to like, comment, subscribe to the show if you have an opportunity. Any Sports on the Spot questions that you have, you can submit to the Sports on the Spot show at gmail.com, or else just ask the question in the comment section of our YouTube channel. That's going to be it for today's show. So thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Unbelievable.